It was supposed to be the perfect day. You know the kind: clear skies, flower petals lining the aisle, and the sound of soft music floating through the air. Family and friends were all gathered, phones in hand, smiles wide. The bride looked stunning, the groom beaming. Everything was going exactly as planned, until a loud, mechanical buzzing broke through the peaceful moment. At first, people thought it might just be a passing drone, maybe someone trying to get a cool shot for the wedding video. But this wasn't a friendly visitor. This drone hovered aggressively, dipping lower and closer to the ceremony. It kicked up petals, rustled the bride's veil, and even scattered the officiant's notes. Guests were murmuring, some ducking, others looking around confused. And then someone spotted it, a small HOA logo on the side of the drone. That's when we realized this wasn't just bad timing, it was planned. Apparently, someone on the Homeowners Association had filed a complaint about the outdoor ceremony being too disruptive. Instead of handling it like a normal human, they decided to ruin the moment with tech. But what the HOA didn't know was that the groom, calm, quiet, kind, was also a licensed falconer. And standing quietly near the back was his feathered best man, a trained hawk named Jasper. You could feel the mood shift. The bride looked up, stunned. The groom gave a small nod, and before anyone could say, "I do," Jasper took flight. Wings spread wide, eyes locked on the buzzing target. Guests gasped, jaws dropped. And that's when things really took a turn. What happened next was straight out of a movie, part wildlife documentary, part wedding drama, and a moment no one would ever forget. But let me rewind just a bit. Because to really understand why the HOA went to such extremes, and why the groom was so ready to fight back, we need to go back to the beginning. The story actually started weeks before the big day, long before anyone heard the drone's annoying buzz. The neighborhood where the wedding was held had strict rules, especially about noise and gatherings. The HOA was known for being, well, let's say, a little too eager about enforcing every tiny regulation. From lawn decorations to where you could park, they had eyes everywhere. So when the couple announced their outdoor wedding in the community park, some neighbors weren't thrilled. Rumors started to spread that the HOA was worried about disturbances, though most people just thought they were overreacting. The bride and groom didn't want drama. They wanted their day to be about love and family, not rules and complaints. But as the ceremony date got closer, things got tense. The HOA sent letters reminding them about permits and community guidelines. The couple tried to work it out, even adjusting their plans, but nothing seemed to satisfy the board. What the HOA didn't realize was how much this wedding meant to the couple. The groom, in particular, had a special connection to his hawk, Jasper. He'd trained Jasper for years, teaching him to respond to commands, fly with precision, and even perform small tasks. It was a hobby, sure, but also a deep passion that taught patience and trust. Jasper was more than just a bird. He was a loyal companion who symbolized freedom, something the groom wasn't willing to give up on, especially not on his wedding day. When the drone appeared, it wasn't just an annoying interruption. It felt like an attack on everything they stood for. The guests were frozen, some reaching for their phones, others unsure if they should intervene. The bride's eyes filled with tears, not from fear, but from disbelief. How far would the HOA really go to control a moment of happiness? And as Jasper swooped toward the drone, the tension in the air grew thick. Would this bold move end the chaos or make things even worse? The answer was still up in the air, literally. As Jasper soared higher, eyes locked on the drone's spinning blades, the crowd held its breath. But the story behind that moment was far more complicated than just a rogue drone interrupting a wedding. Behind the HOA's strict rules was a deeper tension, a clash between the couple's desire for freedom and a community that felt the need to control every detail. Some neighbors supported the HOA, believing that the drone wasn't just a nuisance but a safety issue. "We're trying to keep the neighborhood peaceful," one of them whispered to a friend nearby. Others felt the HOA had taken things too far, turning a joyful celebration into a battleground over petty rules and power. Meanwhile, the bride's side had its own worries. Her family had traveled far, hoping for a memorable day without stress. Seeing the ceremony disrupted by something so strange and unexpected made them question if the couple's choice to marry here had been the right one. The tension between wanting to celebrate and dealing with the HOA's interference weighed heavily on everyone. Backstage, the groom's best friend was trying to keep things calm, quietly asking the HOA representative to call off the drone. But the board member, proud and stubborn, refused. He said the drone was necessary to enforce community standards. It was hard to believe a wedding could be labeled a disturbance, yet here they were, caught in the middle of a dispute about control, respect, and personal freedom. On the other side, Jasper's training was put to the ultimate test. The groom whispered commands, trusting his bird to react perfectly without causing harm. It was a delicate balance. Jasper needed to disable the drone, but avoid scaring or injuring any guests. Everyone watching felt the tension, the delicate line between celebration and chaos. No one could predict what would happen next. Would the groom's bold move end the drone's invasion, or would it spark even more conflict? The answers hung in the air as Jasper drew closer, wings beating strong against the summer sky, ready to change the course of this wedding forever. Jasper's wings sliced through the air, each beat growing louder in the ears of everyone watching. The drone, once a distant annoyance, now became the center of a silent, tense showdown. The groom's gaze never wavered from his feathered partner, his hands steady but heart pounding beneath his calm exterior. The crowd was frozen, some holding their breath, others whispering prayers or gasps, none knowing exactly what would happen next. On the ground, the HOA representative clenched his jaw, his eyes narrowing as he saw his plan unraveling before him. The drone had been his weapon to assert control, a way to send a message that no one here would bend the rules. But now, faced with the hawk's swift and graceful assault, his confidence faltered. Around him, neighbors exchanged glances, some shocked, others intrigued. This wasn't just a wedding anymore. It had become a battle between tradition and rebellion, authority and freedom. The bride stood still, a mixture of fear and hope washing over her face. This was supposed to be the happiest day of their lives, but instead, it felt like a test, one neither of them had expected or asked for. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the groom's hand, silently sending strength to the man who had turned the unexpected chaos into something almost heroic. Time seemed to slow. The drone spun erratically as Jasper closed the distance, wings spread wide, claws ready. The buzzing filled the air like a countdown ticking toward an unknown fate. Guests shifted nervously, some shielding their eyes, others leaning forward, desperate to see what would happen. Behind the scenes, whispers spread. Is that hawk going to take down the drone? Will this ruin the wedding? What about the neighbors, the HOA? And then, just as Jasper lunged, the drone suddenly made a sharp move, darting away from the hawk's reach. The moment cracked open, leaving everyone suspended between relief and fear. The question lingered: how would this showdown end? Would the groom's bold decision protect their day, or only escalate the battle with the HOA? The answer hovered, just out of reach, as the sun continued to shine down on what had become the most unforgettable wedding anyone had ever seen. Just when it seemed the drone might escape Jasper's grasp, something unexpected happened. The drone suddenly dropped lower, not to flee, but to reveal a second, smaller device attached beneath it. Gasps rippled through the crowd as people realized this wasn't just a simple surveillance drone. It was equipped with a camera and speakers, blasting out a pre-recorded message from the HOA president himself. Cease this unauthorized event immediately. The voice boomed over the wedding party, cold and commanding. You are in violation of community regulations, and further disruptions will result in penalties. The groom's jaw tightened. The drone's invasion had escalated from mere annoyance to an official warning, broadcast loud enough for every guest to hear. It was clear now. The HOA wasn't just trying to stop the wedding. They wanted to make an example out of them. The stakes had suddenly become much higher. The guests exchanged nervous looks. What had started as a beautiful ceremony was rapidly turning into a battleground between a couple's dream and a neighborhood's ironclad rules. The bride's eyes welled up, but she squeezed the groom's hand, signaling her unwavering support. He glanced around, seeing not just family and friends, but a community torn between sympathy and frustration. Meanwhile, the HOA representative stepped forward, his expression smug but tense. "You have one last chance to end this disruption," he declared. "This isn't a game." But the groom was already making a decision. He whispered a new command, and Jasper adjusted his flight, circling the drone with sharper focus. This wasn't just about protecting their ceremony anymore. It was about standing up against control, about freedom in the face of unnecessary interference. The drone buzzed louder, the pre-recorded message repeating. The tension was unbearable. Would Jasper's next move be the one to finally bring peace, or would it push everything over the edge? The answer was just out of reach, hanging in the heavy summer air, as every eye remained locked on the dramatic showdown unfolding above the wedding aisle. As Jasper swooped lower, the drone wobbled violently, struggling to maintain its course. The hawk's talons grazed the drone's wing, sending it spinning out of control. With a final sharp dive, Jasper clipped the drone's camera arm, and the machine plummeted into a nearby bush, its buzzing finally silenced. The crowd erupted into cheers and applause, relief washing over faces that had been tense just moments before. The groom landed Jasper safely on his arm, a proud smile breaking through his focused expression. The bride threw her arms around him, tears of joy mingling with laughter. It was a victory not just over the drone, but over the heavy-handed control that HOA had tried to impose on their special day. The community's support seemed to swell in that moment, neighbors coming forward to congratulate the couple, many clearly siding with them against the board's overreach. But just as everyone began to settle, a new voice crackled over the drone's fallen speaker, static at first, then a live feed. Suddenly, the HOA president's face appeared on the screen, looking flustered but defiant. "You think this is over?" he shouted. "You've only made things worse. I've already called the local authorities. This disruption will have consequences." Before the crowd could react, the sound of sirens pierced the calm. Cars pulled up at the edge of the park, lights flashing. The groom's smile faded, replaced by a determined look. He knew the fight wasn't quite finished, but neither was his willingness to stand up for their wedding, their rights, and their future. As the couple faced down the unexpected arrival of law enforcement alongside the outraged HOA, the guests rallied around them, ready to defend the moment that had turned into more than just a ceremony. It had become a story of courage, love, and standing up against control. And just when it seemed like the tension couldn't get any higher, Jasper let out a sharp cry from the groom's arm, an unspoken reminder that sometimes the wildest allies come in feathers and wings, ready to protect what matters most. The arrival of the local authorities brought a sudden hush over the crowd, but instead of the harsh confrontation many feared, something unexpected happened. After listening carefully to both sides, the HOA representative insisting on rules, and the groom explaining the situation with Jasper and the drone, the officers urged everyone to take a step back and find a peaceful solution. The HOA was reminded that while community rules are important, so is respecting people's rights to celebrate major life moments without unnecessary interference. The couple's clear respect for the neighborhood, combined with the dramatic drone incident, made it obvious that things had spiraled too far. In the end, the HOA agreed to back off, at least for the day, allowing the ceremony to continue uninterrupted. The couple finished their vows surrounded by cheers and support, their love stronger for having faced the challenge together. The guests talked not just about the wedding, but about standing up to unfair control and how important it is to find balance between community rules and personal freedom. Jasper, the trained hawk, became the unexpected hero of the day, his role reminding everyone that sometimes the most unusual solutions come from unexpected places. The groom's passion and patience with his bird reflected the deep trust and care needed to navigate tough moments in life. Looking back, this wedding wasn't just about two people saying, "I do." It was about resilience, community, and the courage to protect what truly matters, even when things seem out of control. The couple's story spread through the neighborhood and beyond, inspiring others to stand up kindly but firmly for their dreams. As the sun set on that unforgettable day, one thing was clear. Sometimes, love needs a little extra flight power to soar.